Hello and welcome to the Weekly Reel podcast. My name is Ken.
And my name is Jeremy.
And this week we will be riding shotgun on Shai Halud.
Oh, no way. He actually has the popcorn bucket.
Yes, I do. I do have the popcorn bucket because this week we will be talking about Dune Part 2. But before we get into Dune Part 2, wait a second. Wait, is that the Lisan Al Gaib? Lisan Al Gaib. Lisan Al Gaib. Sorry, I think I overdid it on the coffee so far. Actually, it's not Lisan Al Gaib. Maybe it is, actually.
Could be.
But he is a voice from the outer world, but his name is Jacob. What's up, Jacob?
Hello. Hello, everybody on the live stream. Good to see you guys.
Ooh, everyone. Do you guys remember Jacob? He was actually on our podcast just a few episodes ago, even though that last recording was in like July of last year, which was on the Oppenheimer. Because remember, he's a Nolan boy.
I am a Nolan boy.
Yes, he is a Nolan boy. I mean, I believe you were our very first guest for another Nolan boy movie, Tenet, way back in season 1 as well, right?
That's correct. That is correct. Yeah, and we did go watch that again. I believe you mentioned that on your last podcast, on the last stream, right? Am I wrong?
Well, we did. So
Right,
yeah,
right, okay.
Yeah. I mean, we did go watch it, so that was fun.
It was. It was.
Yes.
Nice to relive 2020.
Yes, it was. I know. I feel like 2024 and 20 is just mirroring 2020. And so, again, welcome back, Jacob, to the podcast. This is actually our first time where we have a guest with our live stream. And speaking of that live stream, we do have an audience, right, Jeremy?
Yes. So for everyone watching on YouTube live right now, hello for one, but I encourage you to comment down below throughout the entire live stream. We have the double feature section, we have our real reviews, everything, guest Rotten Tomato score. So go ahead and if you have any answers, any thoughts that you want to include, go ahead and leave it in the comment section, and maybe we'll shout you out. Maybe we won't. I'm just kidding. Well, we will. As long as it's nice
Make it worth
and PG, yeah, for the most part. And yeah, make it worth it. And so comment as much as you want.
Yeah. So again, thank you all for joining us. And you know what? Let's get right into it. I mean, we're talking about a really long movie, a much anticipated movie because it did get delayed. And so we are going to now issue that spoiler warning. If you are weirded out with spoilers, you have our permission to leave the live stream. Or if you don't mind live spoilers, just keep chiming in on the live stream, learn a little bit about the movie. I hope you did watch the movie because then that makes this discussion even more fun, I guess. So spoiler warning, we are going to talk about specifics about Dune Part 2. And so this week we pick up right where we left off on the planet Arrakis, where Paul Atreides is among the Fremen seeking revenge after his people from House Atreides gets annihilated by House Harkonnen in the follow-up to the 2021 epic. Yes, we are talking about the latest and greatest from director Denis Villeneuve, Dune Part 2, which is out now in theaters. And so, guys, let's get right into our double feature. As a reminder, I have a question. These guys don't know what I'm going to ask. Jeremy, for the second half of this double feature, also has a question for both Jacob and I. And so for my half of the double feature, let's get right into it. No dilly-dallying. Guys, what was your biggest or first takeaway from Dune Part 2 as you were walking out of the theaters? What was the thing that just you were thinking about? You were it's a thought that lingered in your head as you were walking out the theater. Jeremy, why don't you take this one first?
As everyone knows, Dune Part 1 was the best movie I've seen in a long time. I totally did not say last week that this would be my running joke, that I would love Dune Part 1 ever since I saw it for the very first time. But the first thought I had coming out of Dune Part 2 was, wow, things actually happened in this movie. And I was like, okay, we got drama, we got plot twists. There's so much that happened in this movie. It's not a perfect movie, but so much happens, so much interesting stuff happens. It actually felt epic. Like the visuals finally caught up, or the story finally caught up to the visuals, I should say. And yeah, that was like my ultimate first impressions. Was like, ah, things happened. Here we go.
Was there a scene? I mean, you were talking about like how you were just glad that you enjoyed it. Was there a scene in particular that was your favorite? I know we don't really do weekly reel awards anymore, but which was like your standout scene in the 2 hour 46 minute epic?
Okay, so it's not necessarily my favorite, but the first one that came into mind when I realized that I am enjoying this movie much more than the first one, which, I love the first one. So, was when Zendaya's character, Chani, was teaching Paul stuff. Just basically uh, introducing him into the Fremen and all that stuff. It was very much Avatar esque. When I mean Avatar, I mean the blue people Avatar, with like Neytiri and Jake Sully. It was very that much dynamic, but that's where I felt like I was like, oh, wait a minute. I feel like I'm actually enjoying this movie because I actually care about what the characters are doing and how they feel. So when because in the first movie I had a little bit of an issue with Paul, kind of his characterization in terms of how he acted around other characters, but when he was just with Chani in that scene, I felt like, oh, I'm actually caring. I don't think it was my favorite scene of the movie, but that's the time I realized, like, oh, I think I might actually enjoy this movie.
Nice.
What did you think about that that dynamic between Paul and Chani? Jacob, why don't you join in on the conversation?
And that dynamic, I did honestly, especially with the first movie, I was looking forward to, watching that dynamic unfold in the first movie, especially considering how much I would say hype Zendaya got going into Dune Part 1 or Dune. And so now to see it kind of play out and on screen and not just through like these weird visions or random visions of specific moments in the first movie, I liked it. I think it was they progressed really well. It didn't seem like it was, rushed, even though obviously there was some time jumping in between. It didn't seem like there was a lot of time jumping, but obviously, there was a good amount of it just by how much their relationship had progressed throughout that scene. But I enjoyed it, especially, for the amount of the movie that they had a good relationship.
Yeah, I like how they kind of segue into it today. To also because you got to remember like throughout the first movie, and they kind of alluded. I mean, they had Jamas's like body like wrapped up in, it looked like a kind of like a ceremonial wrap or something like that. But remember when they were about to go and he was gonna just be out in the desert to see if he was, he would just survive or
Mhm.
whatever. You were in Paul's head, and you also thought that that person, that body was like some sort of hallucination with Jamis there in the desert, but it turned out to be Chani, and it just unlocked this great chemistry between the two. They were both likable, and I definitely want to shout out Zendaya for just being her normal charismatic self, and it shined through. You were immediately fell in love with that character. If you didn't like Chani, this movie wasn't for you.
Yeah, definitely.
She was definitely one of the main characters. If not, like, it's by the end of the movie, it's like, oh, she's kind of taking over.
Yeah, she was
Right.
the most consistent character that you cared for the most, in my opinion.
Yeah. She really stayed true to who her character was, like especially in terms of character development. obviously that's up to the script writers or to the story writers, but just in terms of kind of her keeping true to herself and her culture and stuff, you kind of it was at a good level all the way through.
Right, right. Jacob, why don't you take my double feature question? What was your biggest or main takeaway as you were walking out of Dune Part 2 on your I think your lone screening so far, right? You've only seen it the one
Yeah,
time?
only seen it the one time. I did watch it in IMAX, so I guess the very first thing was, wow, that was loud. But I honestly, right when that movie ended, I was kind of thinking about what's gonna happen in the next Dune movie, and kind of really just like looking forward to whatever that's gonna be, because I would say that it kind of left it off at a minor cliffhanger. Like, even though, like Jeremy said, there was a lot that actually happened in the story in this in part two. I think, obviously, considering how long the story goes in terms of the books, you're kind of looking forward to see, what's gonna happen next. So I think, yeah, that was the only thing. Honestly, I wanted to see a spoiler, but I mean, not spoiler, stinger. But yeah,
Mm.
I understood that's probably not gonna happen.
Yeah, like I guess I guess like for me, like there were a lot of things that I kind of took into effect as far as my takeaway. There was like so many thoughts, I guess I should say. Obviously, it sounds like I'm like confused as far as whether I was trying to figure out what was going to happen, what just happened, and for me, like my main takeaway was, man, they somehow got Paul to be so likable in the beginning, and then in the end, it just turned out to have that Anakin like kind of story arc where he became, I guess, power hungry, or he was very calculated and cold. It seemed like when you look back on stuff like that, he used Chani and the rest of the Fremen and their, I guess, their them wanting to believe in this ultimate Messiah figure, and it made somehow made Paul like unlikable after just 2.5 short hours. It
Because
was
he listened
crazy
to
how they were able
Thanos,
to do
man.
so. Yeah.
He's like, you use that. They believe in you. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, he's like, oh, I'm going to listen to Thanos.
Yeah.
And then he turned to the dark side.
Well, at least he didn't listen to Thanos and try to snap about 50% of the population away. That would kind of suck for the people, the Fremen.
True, but he did take away half of Johnny's heart. So,
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
that he
bro.
did do. I feel like, going off what Ken said, it was when he drank the water of life, the worm poison basically, but
Ew.
um like, and they were kind of talking about it too in the movie, about how he saw that there was like one clear way that he could get what he needs, or finish what he needs to do. And so I think that since it just became clear to him exactly what he needed to do, then it kind of flipped that switch in him where he's like, okay, like, I have no other choice but to do it this way.
Um,
Yeah.
very much Anakin style right there.
Yeah. That's
yeah.
true.
I feel like a lot of the shots that were used too, like the dark looking like hood thing, he just looked
Hmm.
more menacing by the end of the film. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how you guys felt at the end of the I guess the one-on-one battle with thing. And we could talk more into detail about that, but in terms of like the aftermath of that duel, um I don't know about you guys, but it was weird because we're supposed to we've been following Paul this whole time now for 2 movies, and it seemed a little bittersweet that he won. Yeah, he killed Austin Butler's character Fade Roth or whatever his name was, but at the same time, it's like, oh man, he really did Chani and the rest of the Fremen dirty.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, he did because he went full Anakin in that last scene,
Hmm.
and Yeah, that battle was much better than the one-on-one battle in Dune Part 1. And like just his interaction with Christopher Walken at the end too.
Oh, making him
Mhm.
Yeah.
kiss the ring.
Yeah. Even though Christopher Walken, when I was looking at him, like, why does he look like a grandma at 3 a.m.? but but then when he was like, "Oh, he's pretty much like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill you and marry your daughter." I'm like, "Damn."
Yeah,
And they cut to the shot of Johnny on the sidelines. I was like, "Oh, shoot."
Yeah, that was tough.
that was a tough watch. I really just felt for. Oh man, kudos to the different shots that Denis Villeneuve used during that, because man, the reaction shots from Zendaya were so good and just so heart wrenching. Basically the last 30 to 40 minutes or whatever it was from the time that final battle started, probably some of the best third act stuff like I've ever seen. You got everything. You got action. You got like acting. You got like a crazy one-on-one, like hand-to-hand comp. You got literally everything. Political chess moves and everything. I was like, oh my goodness, this is so good.
Because the reaction shots from Zendaya and stuff, it's like she didn't need to say anything to know exactly what she felt compared
Mm.
to George Lucas and Padme in Revenge of the Sith. Anakin, you're breaking my heart. Like, oh, I could tell.
Like, oh, I thought you were enjoying this.
You're going down.
You
a
will
path
not
I
turn
can't-
her against me.
You will not take her from me.
You have done that yourself.
Oh man,
See, that's why I'm hoping. I secretly have this wish that Paul goes full on Darth Vader in the third one. That would be nice. I don't know if they're gonna do it or not though.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't really even know what the story of Dune is, so I guess if you've read the book, don't say anything.
Yeah, because someone actually told me, it's like, oh, I actually read the books, and the first book is actually just setting up the second book. I was like, oh, that explains a lot.
Because these first two movies were just basically the first book, right?
Oh my, yeah.
yes. I
Okay.
think the next one should be based on the next book in the series. I want to say there's 6 books total.
Okay.
All right. 12 movies.
By the way, Sean Tierra said main takeaway of the film was that I was never Ryan Gosling. I was Paul Atreides the whole time. Well, Sean, Ken's just Ken. So he's Ryan Gosling of the podcast.
Or Simu Liu.
Yes.
But yes, both of them, Ryan Gosling and Paul Atreides, they're actually working for the protagonist.
Yep.
Yeah. Who's the
This
protagonist?
whole thing's a pincer movement.
Between Barbie, Tenet, and Dune Part 2.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. My half of the double feature. I don't know if you guys are ready for it.
We're ready.
All right. Because I was thinking about all the character arcs. We mentioned a couple already. In the first one, we got introduced to characters like Paul. We had Johnny and the visions and stuff. She didn't show up till the very end, so she didn't really do anything. We had Gurney, who survived, and he's there now in Dune Part 2. We also have David Bautista's character, which does a lot of screaming most of the time. Which, he's never done in a role before, looking at Drax and Guardians. Thanos! Dude. Which, another thing we'll talk about a little bit later, I think. Or briefly. But I wanted to ask you guys, who had your favorite character arc so far in the Dune franchise? If you had to kind of put them together, because these movies ultimately are like a TV series, kind of way they structure it, it's like, oh, no wonder it's kind of slow in certain parts, because I can see them cutting this up into like hour-long episodes, and it's like a long TV series. But for you guys, starting with you, Ken, who had your favorite character arc so far? Don't say Duncan. What's his name?
Duncan, Idaho.
Yeah, Duncan, Idaho.
He only had
Aquaman. He wasn't even in this movie.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute.
Don't say that.
His arc literally got cut in half. With apologies to Paul Atreides, I think I want to say Stilgar, even though he's a one-note character.
One note. He's like,
Listen,
I think yeah, that's his only line in the entire movie. He says it like 20 times. Son of Gaib.
that's all he needs to say, man.
Oh man, I you know what? I don't even want to steal this. That's not my real answer, by the way. But Jeremy, you gotta make the comparison between Stilgar and one of our other favorite movies from what was it, 2022? Of who Stilgar reminded you of. You shared that with me post Dune Part 2.
Yeah, we were still sitting in the post credits, during the credits, not post credits, but during the credits, and I mentioned to you, I'm like, oh, isn't Stilgar basically the Pedro Pascal Javi to Nicolas Cage in The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent? Because he pretty much is. He's like, oh, you are the, what did he call it again? I don't want to say the wrong thing. The Lisan
Al Gaib.
Al Gaib, whatever. And I'm like, oh, he's effing Nicolas Cage.
Well, the way even he was just looking at him, he was
Yeah.
like, man, find you a bestie, a significant other that looks at you like Stilgar looks at Paul.
Seriously. He's like his biggest fan in the world. And oh, I was dying when during that final fight, when Paul gets stabbed and they have that reaction shot of Stilgar. I know it's supposed to be a super dramatic scene, but he's like it's like super like crushed more than like Johnny.
Yeah.
And then
More than his mom.
more than his own mother. And when Paul was actually able to kill Rautha, and he looks around at everyone like, oh yeah, he won. It's like, oh, I knew he would win.
I knew he would win.
I knew he would win. That's the,
I think my
that's the look.
favorite Stilgar scene was, I'm pretty sure this was in part 2, but when he was trying to explain to him like, you are Lisan Al Gaib, and then he was like, you know, that's not what I believe. I'm not him. And then he's like, even Lisan Al Gaib is too humble to say he's Lisan Al Gaib. And then everybody's like, yeah.
He
I
goes,
was dying at that part.
Yeah, he goes, he ends it with like, even more reason to know he is.
Yeah.
I love it because he has the whole posse behind him too.
Yeah. They're all like, oh yeah.
Oh,
Which
my
I was like in our viewing, Ken. Like no one else was laughing, dude, in our theater. I'm like, this is the most hilarious stuff since Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Bro, you know what? It wasn't just our theater because our first showing, even opening night, was a little empty. It was like maybe more than half empty. I went
Really?
to the next day. I went to a Dolby IMAX full Friday night viewing, and I was literally the only one cracking up during all of the reaction shots. Literally the only one. I was like, "What is wrong with you guys?"
I think in my viewing, we watched on Sunday afternoon in IMAX at Daly City. And I think, especially at that part where I mentioned, here he was saying, yeah, he's too humble to even say that he is. I don't know if I was just laughing a lot or if I heard some other people laughing too, but I'm pretty sure there were a few other people laughing in there.
Okay.
Oh
At
my
least some people have a sense of humor. Damn.
yeah. We just went off on a tangent. Well, to answer your question, sorry, real quick, I didn't want to go into the whole Paul as the main thing because I'll leave that for maybe for you guys to I kind of want to hear what you guys think. For me, I will say the Bene Gesserit like as a whole, because it was pretty crazy that they basically revealed that they don't care who's at power. They're just literally going to hedge all their bets.
Mhm.
They're going to like send one of their their James Bond's wife to hook up with Elvis and try to carry his baby, and then obviously they already got Baron's they got into the Harkonnen section, and with that whole reveal that Lady Jessica is the daughter, right, of Baron,
Right.
played by Stellan Skarsgård.
Yep.
So they basically just have they have their hand in whatever pot, and they're just literally playing puppet master. And it was pretty cool to be able to see that whole plot or their motivations kind of unfold.
True.
I can see that. Yeah, I was they're just all moving in the shadows, just like they know everything that's going on. They have a plan for anything that happens. And
Mhm.
then, but in the first one, you're like, oh, this is the plan that they have is for Paul Atreides. But really, you find out it's kind of like they're behind like anything that happens, they'll have a hand in it.
Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of curious who else they're gonna try to set up or hook up with or what in future movies, especially since most of them are, well, they're pretty much all women, and I think correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I feel like they made it seem like people would take that poison or whatever, the what was that blue fluid
Water
that
of
they were
life.
yeah, the
The
water
water
of
of
life.
life.
They were the only ones that can handle the poison. And
Yeah.
when Paul was able to survive that, obviously with an assist with Chani's tears and everything,
Tears of
um,
the
spring,
was it? Tears of the
desert
Spring.
spring, yeah.
Yeah.
That was already like an anomaly, I think. And so, yeah, Bene Gesserit.
Yeah, that's a good one. Hmm.
Yeah, definitely a good one. It very much went full like Game of Thrones, especially when Lady Jessica revealed it's like, oh, she's pregnant with like Paul's sister, and
Mhm.
Paul had a vision, dream of like his future sister. That was crazy.
Anya
Which
Taylor Joy.
was yeah,
Anya
I was
Taylor-Joy.
like, wow.
Furiosa.
Queen's
This is
Gambit?
this is all a prequel to Furiosa.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We'll get Chris Hemsworth later. Not Chris Hemsworth. Well, yeah, Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
We'll get
Uh-huh.
Tom Hardy later on playing Mad Max.
Yeah, see, Mad Max just takes place on Arrakis.
There you go. All right, how about you, Jake? Who had your favorite storyline?
Well, I think I'll just have to go ahead and take the Paul Atreides slash Lisan Al Gaib slash Mod what is what is it?
Madib
Madib Usul
Usul.
Usul Madib slash Kwisatz Haderach.
Whoa.
Dang.
And I have a list here. I didn't just memorize all that. Don't worry.
That was a lot.
But just like we were talking about before, seeing the way his character basically after he took the water of life, the way his character flipped, but then also kind of seeing him go from like what Jeremy was talking about in terms of how kind of emotionless his character seemed like in part 1, and then that kind of leading into part 2 as well in the beginning, and then you really start to see a softer side of him in the beginning of part 2, and then he really turns into like the Anakin Darth Vader where he's just like laser focused on his goal of becoming the emperor and just obtaining that power. And I mean, I don't even know what the goal is at the end of the day. Like, what is this one thing that he's trying to do, this one path that he sees? But I
That's it.
think, yeah.
Just kidding. I don't know.
Well, at least he didn't complain about the sand on Arrakis being coarse.
Rough.
Rough.
Gets everywhere.
And getting everywhere.
Sorry,
What was that from
we
again?
interrupted you.
No,
Sorry.
I'm trying to remember what that's from.
Wait, seriously?
Think about it a little bit. Come on, man. It's coarse, rough, And gets everywhere. He's
I
like a
forgot.
little sand in his hand.
What is that from?
Oh, man.
Oh my god, he does it really. I thought you were just
No,
kidding.
I thought, yeah, I know. Okay, we're gonna just tell you right now, man. That was Anakin.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah.
You were talking
You were the
about
one. You were the
Anakin.
one talking about Anakin.
Oh,
I thought you might.
That's right.
I thought you were gonna put that in your notes or so and use that somehow.
I completely forgot about that line.
Yeah, Attack of the Clones. That's why.
Yeah.
That probably makes sense.
Ah, so good. So
Such
good.
an underrated movie. No, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding. Movie
It's
was
an
really
iconic line. I can tell you that.
good. It
Mhm.
was For all
Maybe
the
even
wrong
more
reasons.
iconic than the movie itself.
Yeah.
Sean also says, "I'm sorry, the mom was annoying." I think he's talking about Lady,
Lady Jessica.
Jessica,
Yeah.
Reverend Mother.
Reverend Mother. Remember when she got all like demonic?
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude. I was about to
That's
say
what
that. Actually, I actually enjoyed that because then it added another dimension. I felt like it added a little bit of horror aspects to the not horror. Sorry, horror.
Well, yeah, with the Bene Gesserits, you never know.
Yeah, exactly. But it added that kind of element to this whole sci-fi epic sort of thing. You know, like I was like, oh, it's very very versatile. I was kind of
Yeah.
scared. And when he was, especially when she was talking to her unborn baby.
Yeah.
Oh,
Holy.
yeah. You got some Conjuring vibes up in here.
Uh-huh. I was like,
Yeah.
is this lady crazy or is she like some type of weird spirit thing?
Oh man.
Turns out she's both.
Did you guys hear about Dune Part 2 or like the latter half of Dune book spoilers in terms of like the differences between the book versus the movie with Aaliyah, the sister?
I have
No.
not.
You
I
have
didn't know
not.
she had a
Okay.
name.
Should I mention this here? I
I
mean, because
know.
I don't, it won't affect the future because they actually straight up made a decision to switch it up.
Okay, yeah. In my
So
opinion.
so she is actually born in the book, the daughter.
Okay. In the first
She's like in the first book, and so she's actually alive as like a young baby, but then she has like all of the powers or something like that. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
But she was the one who ends up killing the Baron instead of Paul.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But then they didn't
Harkonnen.
want they didn't
Okay.
want some weird like all powerful baby killing. So I was like, oh, I think Denis Villeneuve made a good choice in because I feel like if they had Aaliyah killing the Baron, I feel like that's unearned. Whereas at least we had almost 2 full movies where with Paul wanting revenge on the Harkonnens and
Right.
he being the one to stab him in the neck. It was pretty satisfying, I think.
Yeah. I think
was-
this actually leads perfectly into me answering my double feature question. Because, we had visions of Chani in the first movie. And I obviously enjoyed Paul's character arc. I love the Anakin going to the dark side type of development that he had. But I also like Chani's story where she basically had to wrestle with like, oh, she's fighting for her people, but she also loves Paul. But then she has her heart broken by Paul by the end, but she's still doing her own thing. She has to stick loyal to her people and what she believes in. And how the first movie teased that, but we never got it.
Mhm,
And now part 2 teased Aaliyah's character, played by Anya Taylor-Joy. So I'm hoping in the eventual third movie, she gets a good character arc in that movie. So I like the change that you mentioned, Ken, because like you said, unearned. If they just rushed it there at the very end, they're like wrapping up. Like everything is going around and revolving around Paul, but everyone's also doing their own things, and so hopefully they're it doesn't feel like any one character takes too much time.
Yeah.
I think that's what the balance of this movie. It balanced the characters really well in this movie.
I I definitely agree with that. Yeah. I mean, was there anything else, anything related to the double feature before we move on to the next segment? Oh, all right. Let's get
I don't think
into
so.
our fairly new segment, which is called The Dailies. This is actually a segment where we have more kind of uncut random thoughts that we want to bring up. Jacob, since you are our guest, I'll give you first dibs. Anything that we haven't touched on yet that you want to talk about?
Yeah, definitely. I personally think when we found out that Paul and then or Jessica and in turn Paul were were descendants from the Baron, I was like, what? It literally blew my mind because that kind of led you to even more insight into how much the Bene Gesserit are really involved in everything. And yeah, that really blew my mind. I was sitting in my chair like, is it really? And then started calling each other cousin. I'm like, what the heck's going on? And then but yeah,
Jeremy,
that
oh
go
sorry,
ahead.
Jeremy saw my reaction when that reveal happened. I was legit like mind blown.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah. That was like, and not even that they're just like distantly related. Like Lady Jessica is literally the daughter of the Baron of
Hmm.
Baron. Yeah. That was just like mind blowing to me.
I was like, man,
And
this is straight up Game of Thrones stuff now.
seriously, like the plot's kind of going like this and like that and like that. You think it's gonna go this way, that goes that way.
Yeah, I didn't actually expect him to kill Routha at the end too.
And really
Really?
fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Thanos
Thanos!
for Carmeria or whatever its name is.
Oh yeah. I mean, that was wait. What's Bautista's name?
Ro-
Robin?
Robin, yeah,
Robin.
Rabin,
Batman Robin.
Beast Rabin. That's his name.
Yeah, they killed him too fast though. Thanos like just killed him.
Yeah, he might as well have just snapped his finger
Yeah.
Seriously.
or used the gauntlet.
I thought it was gonna be like some at least like pretty cool fight scene, but no, it was just all right, he's dead.
I know he
Yeah,
was
they
literally
totally
dead.
just nerfed Bautista's character in this movie.
Oh, yeah, it was
Yeah.
like 5 seconds into that fight, it was over.
I mean, I feel like in the whole movie they just made his character seem like he had no clue what was going on or how to. He was just like a lost character. Like in
So
the
like
first one, I
Drax.
feel he was, yeah, literally like Drax, just no
Yeah,
idea what to do at all. And then when it came time to fight for to the death, he died in like 2 moves.
yeah. Dude, plus he was humiliated having to kiss his brother's feet, like
Yeah,
literally.
yeah,
My
that
goodness.
too.
I actually have a question for you guys.
Okay.
All right, so we eventually find out that Paul, um, uses, I guess, strategic moves, to eventually be betrothed to Florence Pugh's character, Princess Irulan, which is who's the daughter of the Emperor, right? Christopher Walken.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that was his plan all along, or do you think remember how like in the beginning he was all like, yeah, the Fremen should like lead themselves or whatever. I am no Lisan al Gaib or whatever. Do you think
Hmm.
he genuinely switched up, or do you think he actually that was his plan all along? He was kind of sandbagging everyone, and playing like a kind of a long con.
That's a good
Do you want to go
question.
first, Jake?
Yeah, I'll take it. I believe I'm pretty sure it was in the beginning of part 2, but it could have been in part 1. I watched the 2 movies on the same day, so it's a little mumbled and jumbled within each other. But
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that he talked with his mom about that, about having to or being able to marry the daughter of the emperor so that he could become emperor. Right?
Yep.
Did it?
That
Right?
was in the first one.
Right. Okay, that's what I thought. So I feel like that was like on his mind a little bit. Like he knew that it was a path he could take, but then once he was able to see the future and see that there's only one way to do what he needs to do, I think then he's like, okay, so this is what we have to do. So I don't think he was necessarily sandbagging in the beginning. I think that his whole like mindset and I guess personality also kind of switched right when he took the water of life.
Hmm. Jeremy?
I think it's about the same. It's not. It's less Avatar and more Star Wars. uh, you know how in Avatar, Jake Sully goes in there with the mind,
Oh yeah,
like
yeah,
the
yeah.
purpose of actually taking down the what's it called? What's their tribe name again? I forgot.
Fremen. No, I'm just kidding. I forgot
Uh,
already.
I forgot the blue people, and Anakin. You know, he figures it out along the way. Do it, and then he does it. Um,
Did
and
someone say
so,
do it? Who said that in this movie?
oh yeah, it was pretty close, right? I
Yeah.
feel like someone did it.
Someone said do it.
Or maybe that was just us during the movie. That
Just-
was like, oh, kill Elvis or kill Christopher Walken. And we're like, do it.
Do it.
Um, but I feel like he kind of was like Jacob said. Like once he drank the water of life, something changed in him. He like got seduced by the dark side because he knew those options were there the entire time.
Hmm.
But I feel like once he got a taste of like, oh, people are actually like really bowing to me,
Hmm.
I'm gonna take advantage of that.
Yeah. Do you want to read Sean's response before I get into mine?
Yeah, he said Paul knew he was gonna bag Princess Arugula. Got the dog in him for real.
Arugula.
That's
Sounds
So
pretty
he
good
knew
right now.
from I the only reason why I know it was part one was because I watched a 5 minute recap of Dune part one before watching part two.
Oh
Okay.
man. Yeah, I mentioned this to Jeremy, obviously offline, but I was honestly gonna send him a 2 minute recap because I came across one the day of our screening, and I was like, should I send it to him? Nah, he probably watched it, and I was only 40 minutes right. Oh man. Well, to answer, I guess the question I was thinking, I don't know. I feel like it could go both ways. And I feel like Denis Villeneuve um did that on purpose because I feel like there are certain like key checkpoints where it's like you could kind of interpret it the way either way, you know what I mean? Like I'll just use the one aspect of his house ring where he puts it away in the beginning and it's like, oh, he's really trying to adapt to being part of the Fremen and, you know, leading a rebellion, et cetera, et cetera. And all of a sudden, when he's doing his Khal Drogo speech with the Fremen in the South or whatever, and he puts it back on, he's like, oh, I'm Lisan
Mhm.
El Gaib. I will be pessimistic, and I feel like he was playing the long con the whole time.
Dang, I would like that though.
I
That'd be
think he's
pretty
just
epic.
ruthless. I think, remember, they were kind of leaning into the whole Leto Atreides being too nice and he was dumb or whatever. And I feel like, I'm sure he had heard like rumblings from even within his own house or whatever, or, you know, rumors of what they think and perceive his dad to be. And he wanted to be nothing like that. Um, he wanted to be the one.
Oh yeah. Didn't they call him the one also? And then I thought he was like Neo from the Matrix.
Yeah, that's what they would say in when they were speaking the Fremen language, whatever it's called.
Oh man.
They're like, he's not the one, something like that. I don't believe you're the one.
Yeah. Um, last thing I kind of wanted to bring up, unless you guys have anything.
Mm,
I
No.
want,
one thing
yeah,
I'll say,
yeah,
or maybe a couple things, but they're
Okay, go
quick.
ahead.
go for it.
The Harkonnen scenes in part two, I was like a little pretty weirded out by it. just
Just this movie? It
I
was
mean,
weird in
I
the
feel
first
like
movie.
I don't know. That's why I also think I need to watch this again to really get what was going everything that was going on. But just like you kind of got to see, how they all live extended beyond just what the Baron was doing. and it was just a little odd to me. And like the coloring was like really added to the black and whiteness, really added
Yeah.
to like the sense of the eeriness of kind of what their people are. So that was
Yeah.
a little weird. And then another thing is that I'm still confused as to what Jessica's motives are. Like, is she on the Bene Gesserit side to where she wants to kind of, make their motives start going? Or is she like, does she have her own vision of how everything's going to play out in her head, especially when she's talking with her unborn child? Or I'm just like, where? Because sometimes you see her, the way she reacts, it's like, no or yes, but then everything's kind of going according to her plan, but also not necessarily according to the Bene Gesserit's plan. So I'm
Jeremy,
like,
do you want to take
yeah.
any of those two dailies?
Yeah, so I think I'm gonna tie this in with Sean's comment because he said bro's on his Anakin arc, might even do his own Order 66 in
Order
part 3.
66.
When
Execute order.
yeah, Lady Jessica, right? She's talking to her baby and all that stuff, like you mentioned, Jake. I have this theory. All right, hang on. Have this theory where like I believe that Paul is the actual bad guy, or he's the antagonist when we've been building him up this entire time, like Anakin Skywalker is Darth Vader. And by the end of part 3, like Sean said, what if he does his own Order 66, kills the Fremen, freaking Thanos is on his side. Um, but then a baby is born on Taylor Joy in a new trilogy of movies where she's actually the protagonist, and then she has to take down
Hmm,
Paul Atreides.
interesting.
Ooh, yeah.
And but then she doesn't know it's her brother.
I
It's
feel like she would know.
impossible.
I feel like she would know,
Yeah,
like
probably.
thing, but I feel like that's where I feel like they're going as well. I agree. I
I
feel
can see
like
that. So
because
by the time that, because the vision where we saw her as, Anya Taylor-Joy playing the unborn child, there was water on Arrakis. So does that mean that the Lisan al Gaib is, doing what he said he was going to do in terms of turning Arrakis back into a paradise? And then maybe like, you know what I mean? Like, is he like also doing some of the good that he said he was going to do? But then maybe he's not, I don't
Because I
know.
feel like they're going the Anakin route where, oh, we think he's the chosen one, but the
Mm,
actual chosen one is Luke,
right.
who's like the next generation. And I think they're just doing that with Paul, where it's like, oh, Paul's the chosen one.
yeah.
But then remember the Bene Gesserit, they were saying, oh, you need to give birth to a daughter or something like that. That's I watched the 5 minute recap of Dune Part 1. I remember what they said. And
That's true.
so they were saying, oh, you need to give birth to a daughter, and she's the one. So
Oh,
I feel like the Bene Gesserit got it. They got it right this whole time.
Yeah.
interesting.
To address Jacob's second point with Lady Jessica, I feel like she was kind of using the Bene Gesserit like like their ways, their ancient ways of, she was being a team player essentially, but I feel like that one other mother or whatever, the one that was I guess teaming up with the emperor,
Mhm.
I feel like she in a way didn't like how she was condescending towards her, and so she's like, I'm gonna beat that biatch. No, I'm just kidding. You know what I mean?
That be Reverend Mother.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think she just has like this thing where now she wants to be the Bene Gesserit, like the main
Right.
one, and she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna be, like back my son, and you know what? We're gonna take over the world or whatever."
Mhm.
So yeah,
And maybe that's why the Emperor wanted to kill the Atreides. because he knew that they were so power hungry and could get to this point to where they, you know,
Well, I feel like the Reverend Mother was kind of advising the Emperor. It's like, and because she probably saw that Atreides kind of thing, and that's why they wanted to kind of cut them off. But that
uh,
actually, obviously they failed, and it still happened anyway. Because I felt like she was the one that kind of got neutered at the end. Because remember, she put her backing behind the Emperor. Now the
right.
Emperor's just kind of powerless at this point.
But even when she gave her backing to the Emperor, she also was trying to protect Lady Jessica and Paul at that, like during the first movie, right? And then even in the second one, where the daughter was like, "Oh, what if he finds out? Or what if Paul Atreides is alive?" And she's like, "You mustn't tell anybody."
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like they're now on opposite sides with the whole
Yeah.
silence.
Uh
Oh,
huh.
shoot.
And she was like, "What did she say? Blasphemy."
Yeah. Let's quickly end this segment with one sentence description of "May thy knife chip and shatter the duel." Jeremy, go ahead. What were your thoughts on that, real quick?
On
The
that,
the final duel between Fade Roth and Paul.
I mean, one sentence. It was better than the Jameis Winston fight.
Jameis Winston. You gonna eat a W?
Yeah.
Jammy.
Yeah, that was better than a sand hallway.
Yeah.
I agree.
Jacob.
So I thought it was a pretty cool fight. I would have liked to see it go on a little longer than just like those two choreographic scenes and then leading up to that ending part there. I'm pretty sure it was like they had like one section where they fought and then Paul like fell or something and then they fought another section and then that kind of led to the ending of that fight scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would have liked to see it go on a little more because I feel like Fade Rotha was hyped up quite a bit in this movie and like how crazy he was, how good at fighting he was. And I just kind of wanted to see it a little more fighting from him. Even though we did get a good amount when they were on what's that planet? Is it called Harkonnen also? The planet that they live on?
No, they live somewhere else. I forget what they're
I don't
called.
know. I remember it was like Harkonnen City or something. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. But I would have just liked to see him fight more because I feel like he's like that guy that just, kills everybody except for Paul Atreides, obviously.
Yeah, but was he really that good of a fighter if they had to drug all like the
Oh,
Atreides?
2 out of 3. Yeah.
Yeah, 2 out of 3. And then
That is
he could
true.
he kind of, not barely. That one guy, the,
Hmm.
malnourished Asian guy,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's like, oh, he
But
could
then
barely
you have
take
to
him.
remember that the Atreides are some of the fiercest fighters
That's true.
in the galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Atreides.
Yeah, Sean's one sentence was Austin Butler's character was so zesty.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
For a guy with no
was-
eyebrows, I agree.
For my one sentence, I was like, I feel like that may have been the most memorable hand-to-hand combat since John Wick last year. Was that? There hasn't been anything since, right?
Hand to hand.
That was pretty good. I like how everyone shut up too. You just heard like nothing
There's no
but
music. It
Yeah.
was the fighting noise effects. That was good. It's like the focus was solely on this fight.
Yeah. And Stilgar's reactions.
Yeah.
That's like I knew it.
I knew the bro was going to win the entire time.
Oh man. All right, let's get right into the next thing. We have this new segment called The Real Review. Jeremy, and I kind of screwed up last week. I forgot this is a spoiler-free review. So yeah, sorry about that last week. But anyway, Jeremy, what is your real review for Dune Part 2?
Okay, for me, Dune Part 2 is the Dune movie everyone has been waiting for. I believe it actually meets expectations. While it may drag a tad, like in the middle of the movie, uh, I don't want to say what because no spoilers. Almost every aspect is improved upon in part two than it was in part one. If you loved the part one, though, you'll love this one even more. And if you didn't like the first one, give this one a shot because stuff actually happens in this movie. And it's actually pretty good. And I'm giving Dune Part 2 a 2580 out of 3,086%.
Wow, that may have been that should have just been a 3,000 in your scale, your Dune scale. That basically was a 3,000 in the Dune scale. Dude, there's no way. Do you remember what you gave Dune?
Probably somewhere in the 50s. Probably like 52 or something. I don't I don't think we've ever had like a movie had this type of jump from the first one to the sequel or whatever, where it went from 50 to 86 for me. Yeah, if it wasn't for this podcast, I should have put this in my review. If it wasn't for this podcast, I probably wouldn't have watched this movie because of part one.
Oh man. Just before I get into my real review, one of the things that I was kind of watching before the season started was I once in a while just kind of watch some of our old videos that we do come out with, and one of the ones that I was watching was my top 5 most anticipated movies of 2023. And at the time it was supposed to come out in October if I remember correctly. And so that made my list only because of this podcast episode, because I just wanted to see the variance again between the possible variance between your opinion and my opinion, or whoever our guest would have been. So yeah,
There you go. Because Sean said, round that up, boy. How can I round up 500 points?
that got to be 3,000.
That gotta be 3,000. I was like, dude, 86 is like good score. Plus, I didn't cry during this movie. So,
Oh my goodness.
Is a good
Well,
one.
he also mentioned may as well been 4,000 because we got more queens and Zendaya, so we take those.
we gotta keep it at 3,000, you know?
Yeah, Sean be simping for Zendaya.
I know. All day, every day.
Oh shoot! All right, well, for my spoiler-free real review, the Dune franchise weirdly mirrors the Game of Thrones series with my personal consumption. Back in 2011, I actually bailed on Game of Thrones after one episode, only to be convinced later on in season 1 to keep watching because it gets good. Yes, we did a podcast on Dune Part 1 back in 2021, which I liked but never felt the urge to rewatch. But fast forward to 2024, and after watching Dune Part 2, I can honestly say it got good, and I am 100% in on the Dune franchise. Dune Part 2 felt epic with its pacing, its attention to detail, its scope. We got to shout out Denis Villeneuve. I just want to keep practicing saying his name. The storytelling, the writing, the acting. Shout out Timothée Chalamet for that amazing Paul Atreides story arc. And of course, our current GOAT composer, Hans Zimmer. We didn't even mention him in this episode yet. Hans Zimmer turns out another classic. But Dune Part 2 makes me appreciate Part 1 so much more, and it has me looking forward to the third theatrical installment of the Dune franchise. So with apologies to Madam Web, Dune Part 2 has set a really high bar for movie of the year so far in 2024. I'm giving Dune Part 2 my highest recommendation to watch on the largest format possible. And I am giving it on the I Love You 3000 scale a 2880 out of 3,000, which is 96%.
Dang, that is a high score.
That is a
Damn,
good
okay.
score.
Yeah. So We've gone and did our real reviews. Jacob, we don't expect you to do a real review, but on the scale that we have come accustomed to on this podcast, the I Love You 3000 scale, how would you rate Dune Part 2?
So for Dune Part 2, I would honestly give it a 2700 out of 3000, which puts it at a 90%. And just a couple spoiler free things about this movie. Definitely go watch it. The slow parts, like Jeremy said, are slow, but if you have it in you to pay attention, it really makes a big difference in understanding everything that's going on. But yeah, I definitely recommend anybody who hasn't seen this to watch it. And who knows, maybe watching the second one will make you want to watch the first one.
Yes. Well said. I feel like we're in unison in terms of liking this movie. Obviously, there's a little bit of variance in how much we like it. I don't know. I just find a lot of commonalities between this, Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, that sort of thing, with these epic, very detailed type movies. And so I think I don't know, I just kind of shill for these type of movies. I was a little worried after Dune Part 1. I was a little disappointed in the first one, but now I see. Now I see it.
You drank the water of life.
I did, and you know what? I survived. I survived. That was a weird scene, right, Jeremy? That was like your weird thing with the little baby sandworm.
Yeah, okay. Well, like I didn't want to say this like in the theater, but remember the baby sandworm? It reminded me, I don't know if you watched The Boys.
Oh no.
Okay, I'll just leave it up there. If you watch The Boys and she had the baby sandworm wrapped around her, I was like, oh, flashbacks to The Boys.
Season 3, right?
Yeah, Mother's Milk.
Oh,
The episode title.
bro.
Yes,
Shoot.
that episode. So,
I need to do a rewatch before June.
So
Season 4. Anyway, let's get right into our next segment, the Guess the Rotten Tomatoes score, where we're on the honor system. We try to guess what Dune Part 2 got. We are just starting off our season 7 competition. I'm currently up 2-0 in this very early on in this season. And this time we have a guest. So, Jacob, I know you're not necessarily in this competition, but for kicks and giggles, what would you guess the Rotten Tomatoes score is for Dune Part 2?
So for full transparency, I did see the Rotten Tomatoes score, like what it debuted with at least.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know what it's at now. But I would guess that it would probably settle at around 92%
Okay.
on the Rotten Tomatoes score. A very, very fresh movie still, but I think it would settle around there.
That actually is in conjunction with your I Love You 3000 score, which is the most important rating. Right,
Most
Jeremy?
important.
What would you
Yes.
guess?
I actually guessed your I Love You 3000 score. I guessed 96%.
Oh, man. Well, I guess we are going to, I don't know. It's anticlimactic because, I mean, it's not a coincidence, but my guess is also 96% because, I was like, I figured it's the same. So we both get the point this week,
Okay.
no matter what. But do you want to reveal what the actual Rotten Tomatoes score is?
Yes, the Rotten
Do
Tomatoes
it.
score is. Oh, that's just you. Oh,
Oh, you had it.
there we go.
Boom.
94%. Still working out.
Oh,
the kinks.
we would have all split.
Oh, yeah.
We were both, or well, all three of us, I should say, we were all off by 2.
Wow.
Oh, see, Sean guessed 89.90.
Oh, if we would have kicked Sean's butt. Sorry,
Sorry,
man.
Sean. Oh, that's just you again.
Yeah.
There we go.
There you go. There you go. Hey, we're still trying to figure out this StreamYard UI. And I mean, Jeremy's doing a lot of the heavy lifting with the productions part. So to update the competition for season 7, since we tied with our guests, we actually had the same guest. A little anticlimactic, but we both score a point. I'm currently up now 3-1, heading into next week. There's your segue, Jeremy. What are we covering for next week?
Yes, next week after Bay and Bay B. I actually
Yeah,
forgot. Is it
I think
B
it
or
is
Bay?
B. I think it's
B,
B.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoops. After B and Ben have a great first date in rom-com fashion, things do not work out. But they are soon reunited at a wedding and things get messy. Their plan to fix things: pretend to be in a relationship with each other in Anyone But You, starring Glenn Powell and Sydney Sweeney. We're gonna do whole 180 from the super epic sci-fi down to a rom-com. Very
Right up our alley.
right up our alley, yeah. So I remember, Sean, if you're watching, you said cover Anyone But You. We got you. We know already. We got you. And
Yeah, we
by the way,
got you.
Sean also said waiting for Deadpool 3 to get that number one spot of movie of the year. Well, stay tuned for part 2 of the episode, by the way, because you'll hear some other about future movies this year.
Yes, stay tuned. But yes, I'm looking forward to talking about something a little bit more lighthearted. I know both Jeremy and I have seen it already, but I'm looking forward to actually, dissecting the movie. I wasn't really fully paying attention, so I probably miss a lot. Jacob, have you seen Anyone But You?
I have not yet. I really want to watch it, but I know Jeremy had mentioned to me off stream that it's not streaming anywhere unless you rent or buy it. So
Yes.
I might just have to wait a little longer, but I don't know. We'll see. I do want to watch it though. It's been something I wanted to watch, ever since it came out, but just really never got around to it.
Yes. Yes. I think I got lucky in that one of my friends actually bought it. And so I'm
Ah,
like, oh, okay, I can watch it for free. But yeah, I'm gonna have to rent it for next week. So, um, Jeremy, like we have this whole new platform that we have now that we've incorporated for season 7, right?
Yep. So we are currently streaming live on YouTube Live. So if you want to look us up on YouTube, just search up the Weekly Reel podcast. We'll show up there. Make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you know when we'll be up live. And, we usually put up little reminders when we're actually going to stream, usually about a week ahead of time. So you could plan out your day, go get dinner, and we'll show up on time. We promise.
Yes. Also, follow us on Instagram at Weekly Reel. We usually put podcast links. We put links to this YouTube little thing that we have, our live stream, as well as a little bit more polished videos that we do release the following Mondays as well. But also, we put links for the main podcast apps like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. But we're also available wherever you stream podcasts. But yeah, that's the sort of thing we post on Instagram. We also post, random clips from the main episode. Also follow us on TikTok at Weekly Real Pod. That's usually where we we post our exclusive content. We'll put some soup du jour stuff. I feel like those are the more fun videos. So follow us there at Weekly Real Pod. So before we close out, there was one thing that I kind of wanted to get your guys' opinion on. I don't know if you heard, but there was a lot of buzz with Fade Roth, Austin Butler being the best villain since Heath Ledger's Joker. I'm not sure if you heard any of that, but what were your thoughts just on his character portrayal overall, real quick?
Go
I
ahead,
can go.
Jacob.
Yeah. I think it was I think his character portrayal was really good. Like it disturbed me at times of not necessarily how good it was, but how creepy it was.
Mhm.
Um I do, like I said, I do need to watch the movie again because I feel like there are some aspects of it, especially during the Harkonnen scenes, about just kind of missing a few things here and there, especially that pertain to his character. But I mean, I think he did a really good job just making it really, really creepy to a point where you're like kind of disturbed by him every time he just pops up on the screen. I mean, especially with the way like his character looks with the no eyebrows and just weird
No
looking.
hair. No hair.
Uh-huh, exactly. But
Yeah.
I think it was portrayed really well. But to say, I mean, off the top of my head, I can't really think of, great villains right now. So
Thanos.
that's true. That is true. But I mean, this is like Thanos was kind of like built up and it was more of like his power, but not necessarily him. You know what I mean?
Mhm, mhm.
But yeah,
So, you know what I mean? It was like kind of like it was like built up like this is who this guy is instead
Mhm.
of it kind of just like letting him play out the character as and just him doing all the heavy lifting himself as Thanos. But off the top of my head, I can't think of any better ones, but I'd say that there's a really good chance that that might be true.
Mhm. Jeremy?
I would have to disagree. Uh, I would say he's pretty serviceable, better than serviceable, but like, um, yeah, he had that creepy factor, but I think that's just the culture of like the Harkonnen. With
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
I always had found what's his name, the Baron,
mm,
Yeah.
like much more disturbing to look at.
Oh,
um, and I think that's where it trickled down in the bloodline.
yeah.
And to me, he was just like a psychotic frat boy, you know?
mm.
Like he would, kill his women and do whatever with whatever. And but then again, he also got taken advantage of by James Bond's wife, Lady Margot.
Yes.
So yeah. And to be fair, it's not like he had the most screen time.
Yeah.
So he with the screen time he got, he was good.
Yeah.
And but I wouldn't go as far as to say that he's up there with Oscar level
Yeah.
Heath Ledger
Definitely.
in that performance.
You basically said everything I was about to say. I think the only thing that you didn't mention was I did appreciate how he sounded like Stellan Skarsgård. Wait,
Oh,
Stellan?
I think so.
Is that him? Oh, but yeah, the Baron, essentially. I enjoyed that part of his character. But yeah, I think he was a little overhyped with recency bias. Recency bias. So couldn't agree more. All right,
Would
let's
you say that
oh good.
one more thing? Can you think of a villain that was better than him since Heath Ledger's The Joker?
Mm,
Better? Like I even
Mhm.
like Zod more in Man of Steel.
Mm. I can see that.
I'm trying to remember.
yeah, I don't know. You're putting us on the spot. I can't think of anyone right now.
They have villains. Uh, besides Thanos, Wenwu.
I mean, I want to say Javier Bardem, but then that
Ah,
that was before what you
Mm.
call that was '07, I think, in No Country for Old Men.
oh, I was gonna say Javier Bardem in Skyfall.
Oh yeah, that he
Mm.
was good there too. I just really want
True.
to end this podcast on a Stilgar note. But yeah,
Ah.
maybe we may address that in part two. At like in the comments section, we'll see. But to close out part one, and Jacob, you're sticking around for part two, yeah?
I am sticking around for part 2.
All right. Well, um, again, to our live audience, stay tuned for part two. We'll have that going in about 5 or so minutes. But before we close out our episode on Dune Part 2, check out last week's episode 112 on Argyle. It's currently streaming now to watch on YouTube. Again, subscribe and click that bell for notifications on new content on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. Also, it's also available to stream now on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And then, as Jeremy mentioned, next week we are covering Anyone But You. So feel free to rent or purchase the digital copy of that movie. I think it's a pretty entertaining watch. So, and also, I mean, you could just join in on the live stream and be an active participant like our boy Sean on the chat. And so, guys, let's wrap up part one. For those that are here for the main show, we'll see you next week. on the reel.
Okay, welcome back to part 2 of the podcast. This is the soup du jour.
What's the soup du jour?
Well, it's the soup of the day.
That sounds good. I'll have that.
Well, it is the soup du jour number 3. And Jacob, you are still here, right?
I am still here, as you can see.
Whoop whoop.
Yes, we just finished talking about Dune Part 2, and we're going to be doing our fill of the soup du jour. And the soup du jour is the second part of our podcast where we talk about TV, movie news, or any other TV slash film related topics. And today we're going to be talking about our top 5 anticipated movies of 2024. I just want to remind everyone watching live, comment right now what your top 5 most anticipated movies are of 2024. I mean, you can't say Madam Web anymore because that already happened, or Dune Part 2. So anything past that, we're good to go. Jacob, want to do your top 5
Listen,
most
Uncle
anticipated
Ayub.
movies of 2024? You get first dibs.
Yes.
Just kidding.
Perfect. Perfect. Because I feel like some of these will definitely overlap, possibly, maybe. We'll see. All right. So I do have a couple that I have under the honorable mention category. The first one being a movie that I know some of us have had some things to say about the trailer that came out, but it's Godzilla X Kong, the new empire, I believe.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
put that honorable mention just because I'm a big Godzilla fan, but I'm not sure how I feel about this movie and how it'll actually be once it comes out. But I'm definitely still looking forward to it and definitely still watch it in theaters. And then my second honorable mention movie is Transformers 1, apparently, is what they're calling it. Basically, that is kind of, I believe, a prequel. So it's going to take place on Cybertron. Um, got a pretty good cast to it already, as from what I've seen. So I am looking forward to seeing that. I've always been a big Transformers fan too. So getting to see a prequel would be kind of cool.
It's actually
All
going
right.
to
So
be animated too.
really,
Yeah. They're
even
going to try to
better.
take advantage of like the whole across, what do you call it, Into the Spider-Verse movies
Mm.
and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. That's probably even better. It might have definitely have better visuals than what it would do if it was actually like real life, I think. But all right, yeah, moving into my actual top 5. At number 5, I have, and these are, as we know now, are coming out this year, right? So, number 5, Gladiator 2. I didn't even know that was coming out until I started making this list. So, I'm definitely looking forward to that cuz Gladiator 1 obviously instant classic movie. You can watch that whenever and it's still a great watch. Number 4 is a movie with Jake Gyllenhaal, and also I saw that Conor McGregor is going to be making an appearance in it too. Roadhouse, which is
Nice.
also a remake, correct?
Yes.
Right. Okay. So I am looking forward to that movie. Number 3, Civil War. I've always
Ooh.
kind of I liked war movies and kind of seeing it play out in a civil war fashion between states in the United States. I think that'll be pretty cool. The visuals look pretty cool already in the trailers that I've seen. Number 2, I feel like this is going to be probably on all of our lists. Deadpool and Wolverine. It's probably a surprising number 2. You're like, what does this guy have at number 1? I don't know. But
Uh,
number 1, just because I saw the first movie, I don't know how many years ago, but I loved it, and I've always been a fan of bad weather movies where it's like the day after tomorrow. But number 1, I'm going with Twisters with the very prestigious actor Glenn Powell. But I can't wait for
anybody?
Twisters. I've been waiting for a second Twister movie for probably ever since I watched the first one, which was like early 2000s. I don't even know when. I think it came out like when did that come out? Like the 90s?
Yeah, it was in the mid 90s. I want to say like
Yeah.
97.
Yeah,
Let
Something
me
like
fact
that.
check that.
right. It's
Yeah.
like the year I was born, before I was born, so I've always loved that movie and I've always been waiting for a second one and it's finally happening.
And it
96,
looks pretty
actually.
good.
I
96?
Yeah.
90, yeah, see, even before I was born.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've like, in terms of like Storm Chasing 2 period, like I watch a bunch of like documentaries and stuff about that. It's just always been astonishing to me seeing all the things that they do and the gadgets they come up with. So it'll be interesting to see how they kind of I don't know if they'll reference the first movie at all. It kind of seems like they're doing the same thing with the balls in the air inside the tornado, but definitely looking forward to that one.
I
Definitely.
plus. Oh, go
I'm
ahead.
not surprised that Twister was your number one.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, for those of you who aren't aware, actually, Jacob did do a lot of his growing up in Florida, and they get some inclement weather over there.
Oh yeah, everything from hurricanes to tornadoes. No earthquakes though, but all the stuff from the sky, we get it all except for snow.
Okay.
That's a good list. I have a couple of those at least on my honorable mentions, or even straight up on my list. But yeah, we do have some comments, right, Jeremy?
Yeah. Okay. So I want I thought Sean was like putting his top five out there, but he just started putting a bunch of movies. I don't know if these are in any particular order. He's got Fall Guy because of Ryan Gosling. I didn't know if that was his honorable mention or number five. Then he's got Godzilla Kong. He got Joker. I forgot about Joker. Was that this year? Deadpool.
It's from the fall.
Challengers. Oh, Challengers.
Challengers is Zendaya.
That
Yeah.
Zendaya movie.
He simps
doing that.
for Zendaya.
He wishes he was at one of those two guys in that movie. Which they spoiled the entire movie
Yeah.
in
They
the
did.
trailer, which is horrible. Trailer movie looks all right.
I think that trailer's on repeat in the in Sean's household.
Gladiator for sure. He said Roadhouse, maybe Bad Boys, and then he's also got an Adam Sandler movie called Spaceman.
Yeah.
I haven't liked the Adam Sandler movie in a long time. Probably think First Dates.
Uncut Gems was good.
Oh, okay, I haven't seen it, but maybe I should.
A24.
A24.
I mean, Jacob did mention Civil War, which is a A24 movie as well.
I don't even know if A24 has done like a war-ish type movie yet, have they?
I don't know.
Ooh. They
I don't
make a
know.
lot of
I'm looking-
movies.
Yeah.
I want to say that I forget what streaming service is going to pick up a lot of A24. If I had to put money on it, I think Max is going to. I think they just literally started
so.
showing a lot of A24 stuff.
I think so because I think I remember seeing like a little tab there that's just
Yes.
A24 movies.
Yeah, they have their own little section now. Okay, cool. Now I think I can kind of binge watch some of their stuff because I feel like most, if not all of their movies are pretty quality from that studio.
Yeah, there's some dark stuff in there. I just looked up A24 movies. I was like, oh yeah,
I mean, we
some
covered
good-
Hereditary.
Uh-huh.
yeah.
I feel like it's mostly like horror
Mhm.
movies or thriller horror movies, but I think pretty recently, maybe the past couple or past 3 years, they've been like branching out into different genres.
Yeah, Civil War looks like to be a much bigger scope than their usual affair. But Ken, do you want to list your top 5 anticipated movies?
Yes. I do also have a couple of honorable mentions. Well, Transformers was one, but since Jacob already mentioned it, I'll mention only because I'm very curious how the imaginative mind of who John Krasinski, if is the movie that
Oh,
I
If.
wanted to mention. Yeah, I think he's the one that's directing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so If is on my honorable mentions list, as well as Inside Out 2. I love the first Inside Out. I kind of want to give a little bit of shout out to some of these imaginative like animated movies as well. So yeah, those are my 2 honorable mentions. So without further ado, for my 5th most anticipated movie of 2024, I'm going to mention The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Number 4, shout out to Sean on this one, The Fall Guy, starring Ryan Gosling. Oh man. For number 3, I have Dev Patel in Monkey Man. I'm I want to highlight this one just because um watching the trailer got man, I got John Wick vibes on this in a more primal like way, if that's even possible. I feel like it's even more, it's less stylistic, and I feel like it's more gritty, if that's even possible, because I feel like John Wick embodies gritty. So I'm curious to see how Dev Patel does the whole hand-to-hand combat and weapons a la John Wick. So Monkey Man is number 3 for me. Number 2, I think we mentioned it a little bit in part 1, Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, is number 2 for me. And number 1 is really basic for me, Deadpool and Wolverine. I just want a good comic book MCU movie. Yeah, we've got a couple of sprinkled in here and there with No Way Home, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, but I want to see if Deadpool and Wolverine can kind of pull everything to kind of together like Loki did with all the timelines and everything. Spoiler for the end of season 2. And literally just pull the MCU back to its focus, like with good projects moving forward. So that is my list.
Ooh, that's a
Like-
good one. I'm not surprised because when I was making my list, honestly, I was like, oh, it's kind of a little barren, I feel like, for if we were thinking the whole entire year. But it makes sense because we had the strike for majority of last year. So my two honorable mentions. One is Hitman, starring none other than Glenn Powell. It reminds me of the movie The Saint with Val Kilmer, where he's like putting on different costumes and stuff. So the Hitman, he's a hitman. And Alien Romulus,
That
the
one looks
sequel
good, too.
to Alien Covenant. So I think that's still directed. I don't know if it's directed by Ridley Scott or not. So I'm a little bit excited to see what Alien is gonna do next. So my number 5 is Twisters, starring none other than Glenn Powell. Number 4, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Mhm.
Number 3, which it's Roadhouse. I feel like it's the
Nice.
one that has the highest chance of being the worst out of the bunch.
Yeah, I can
But
see
I
that.
feel like I'll probably still enjoy it. Love Jake Gyllenhaal. Number 2, Deadpool and Wolverine. And for obvious reasons. And number 1, Transformers 1, because I love Transformers. And the voice cast looks awesome.
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised that Chris Hemsworth is Optimus Prime, but he's got a beautiful voice, so I'm down for that. Because sometimes,
voice.
as much as I love Peter Cullen as Optimus Prime, in that last movie in Rise of the Beasts, sometimes his voice acting was a little like, I love you, Peter Cullen, and your voice sounds awesome, but someone didn't direct you right, I think. Hopefully.
Oh man, but I actually did have that as one of my honorable mentions, but I mean, you guys mentioned it, so I feel like I didn't need to mention it. But yes, I shill for animated Transformers. Which is why I kind of chimed in when Jacob mentioned it, because I was really excited for that movie. Because they can go they'll have a little bit more free reign, a la the Spider-Verse soon-to-be trilogy, and I feel like that's literally the only thing that's keeping Sony as far as on people's good side, because their live-action stuff sucks.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ken, I wanted you to mention this comment, or because Sean says Loki want to watch the American Society of Magical People. Not completing the title for legal reasons. And I remember I didn't watch the trailer yet, but I remember you mentioned that you watched the trailer.
Yeah. Well, full stop. When we were, I think this was our second meeting when we were like, oh, let's try to at least build out the first month or so, 6 weeks of our schedule for season 7. I was just reading a title, and it was the the American Society of Magical, and I didn't realize it got cut off for a reason because I was like, "Huh, that's weird." That movie. What was the website that
We
we
were on
used?
Movie Insider.
Movie Insider, and then when I actually looked it up on IMDb, I was like, "Oh, that's what that movie is." But when I was watching, it may have been Madam Web actually. I actually saw a trailer for it. It actually looked pretty fun. And I was telling Jeremy on one of our screenings, within the last week or so, to check out the trailer whenever he gets a chance because it's actually a fun one. And I was hoping that they would have shown it for Dune Part 2. Because yeah, it has a lot of magical elements to it. And it's for having such a controversial type of name, it actually seems like a fun movie. That would probably be like towards the bottom of my top 10 list, I guess, or maybe within my top 15 list of most anticipated. It seems like a fun movie to watch, despite the title. All I'll say is watch a trailer. You'll know what I mean.
Okay. Jacob, you might need to look up this movie if you don't know the full title.
I did.
Okay.
I looked it up. I was curious.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
when we were doing our scheduling, Ken was like, "Oh, what's this movie?" Because they didn't fill out the entire thing on Movie Insider.
I was like, the
Uh-huh.
'Cause I
magical.
think
Oh.
magical society of.
Oh.
I was dying,
That's how I finished it because I mean it was late too.
and we're in a public space.
Yeah, we're in a public space. Not sponsored by Panera, by the way. But yeah, that I had to do a little bit of a double take. It's a good thing I didn't say it out loud. And we won't hear either. Any other movies that we've mentioned that we haven't mentioned, I should say.
Ooh,
The only one that I have on my list that's not on here, I'm very curious about A Quiet Place Day One, only because the first two, obviously following Emily Blunt and her family, were so good.
Mhm.
Obviously, this is now the origins of what happened on day one. Different cast, and but I'm very curious if this will have some of the thrilling elements of the first two.
I look forward to this movie too. I do like the Quiet Place movies that have come out so far. They're pretty. Although I've only seen the second one like once, so I don't quite remember that one. But the first one I've seen, multiple times. I like the Quiet Place movies. So I am. This was one that I would have added to my honorable mention movies, but there's just not enough space.
Jacob,
Jeremy?
have you seen?
Oh, good.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, like Quiet Place 2 though was I liked it, but like you said, I only watched it the one time, but I'm curious to see what day one feels like. Didn't they have a teaser for like another sequel to 28 Days Later? Is that this year also?
There is. I did see that also. I don't know if that's this year. I haven't seen it on um I haven't seen it on like any lists of movies that are coming out. So I'm not quite sure if that is coming out this year or not.
Because I don't know. I guess we'll see. I think the cast looks good. It's a different director. It's not John Krasinski because he's doing If, right? Because
Yes.
there's
Right.
If and then there's Imaginary Friends. Imaginary
Uh-huh.
Friends is the horror
Much different.
movie.
Yes.
And if
If-
action, yeah, it's definitely not a horror movie, but it also stands for imaginary friend,
It does.
coincidentally.
And it has Ryan Reynolds.
Yes, and it also has Jim Randall Park from The Office.
There we go.
Right?
Just kidding.
Another one here that I see that looks pretty interesting is Horizon: An American Saga, with apparently Kevin Costner is the lead on that one, and it's basically follows the expansion of the American West before and after the Civil War.
Mhm.
And it's actually coming
Ooh.
out in two different parts. One, and those parts are like separated by like what 2-3 months. So it's like it's not like your standard movie separation between two parts, but I think it's interesting. It'll be interesting. It seems like a cowboyish movie because they're kind of on the western frontier, especially during a time period of the Civil War. I think that'd be pretty cool. Pretty fun
Mm.
watch.
Yeah, that sounds like an interesting one. I haven't seen Kevin Costner in a movie in a while.
Yeah.
He should be in Twisters. Reprised as
He
well
should.
as Jonathan Kent.
Oh,
Jan said, "I'm so excited for If." Is If a musical, by the way? Do you guys know? Does Ryan Reynolds sing?
I don't
I don't think it is.
Okay.
And there are a few cast members from The Office actually.
Yes, there are.
There are.
Including Michael Gary
Mhm.
Scott.
Oh, you guys aren't excited
MGS.
for another Steve Carell movie? Uh, S- Despicable Me 4?
Is that actually coming out?
We're
Yeah.
going to the moon.
There was a trailer.
Oh shit.
Yeah, yeah. There was a teaser trailer that just recently came out.
Another animated movie I'm looking forward to though, Kung Fu Panda 4.
Oh yeah, it's coming out this week, isn't it?
Skadoosh. Is it this week?
I want to say
I think it is this week.
Yeah. So, like literally
Yeah.
tomorrow. Actually, I was like, wait a minute, I forgot it's Wednesday.
I might have to go check it out on opening night.
Yes.
Yeah. I also want to remind our live audience. We kind of just jumped straight into the comments already, but
Yeah.
if you have any last minute comments, put them in now. Especially if you're anticipating any movies like Craven the Hunter or something.
Or-
I think that's the movie that will get Sony back on track.
Or Venom 3.
Or Venom 3. It's like those movies, movie of the year.
Yeah.
That and Madam Web.
Ugh, yuck.
Wow, three Sonyverse movies in 1 year, huh?
I know. My goodness. It's ironic that we're only getting one MCU movie.
They're like just flooding the superhero genre with like crap right now.
I know. I feel
Even
like
though I
they-
love the Venom movies.
Oh, yeah.
Not love, I enjoy them.
Yeah, they're all right. Oh, here. I have one that's coming up pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
I think I know I've talked to Jeremy about this, but are you guys planning on possibly checking out the new Ghostbusters movie, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire?
You already know my thoughts, Ken.
Yes.
I
Okay.
probably won't be.
Have you watched any of the Ghostbusters movies?
No,
Okay.
I haven't. But I've listened to the song.
Mm,
I know
okay.
the song very well.
Okay.
Good song.
I know, Jeremy, you have also not watched any of the movies.
I have not.
I think that's where it lies. For me, I haven't watched one in decades because the last one that I saw was the second Ghostbusters. I've seen the first two, but I haven't seen the, I guess the female-led cast with, was it Melissa McCarthy that came out within the last 7 or 8 years or whatever it's been. Nor have I watched the one before this next one that's about to come out, the one with Mike. Mike.
Oh, here. Sean also says, isn't there a movie in the John Wick universe coming out this year starring Ana de Armas? No. Unfortunately, Ballerina, if you want to look that up, is actually got pushed from June of this year to June of 2025. Yeah, I would have put that actually on my most anticipated, but unfortunately, not this year. He said, also, forgot Craven and Venom were a thing. Yeah.
Wait, are they a thing though? Yeah, they're coming out with a release, but are they really a thing?
Well, Craven was supposed to come out last year, but the strikes delayed it to this year.
Can't they delay it to
Right.
never?
I know, right? It's like how could DC cancel a movie like Batgirl, but Sony doesn't cancel Madam Web? At least in Batgirl, you would have had Michael Keaton as Batman in it.
That's true.
And who knows? Maybe I was hoping for Arnold to come back.
It's crazy to me that both Dakota Johnson and Sydney Sweeney are just trashing their own movie, and they're not even being shy about it.
They're not at all.
Oh my god, that joke from SNL from Sydney
Uh-huh.
Sweeney was everything. It was so good.
Wait, is
I
there
mean,
a
that's
Lord
better
of the
press.
Rings movie coming out this year?
Animated, supposedly.
Oh, okay.
Supposedly.
Okay.
Did you see that there's a Wicked movie coming out, Ken?
Yes,
Ever
I
since
saw.
we saw Wicked.
Yeah, I saw the. There's a teaser trailer actually.
Yeah. I saw the teaser. And who's Galinda?
Oh, let's go
It's,
see.
I think it's Ariana Grande, right? But I don't know who's playing who's in it?
Cynthia.
Ah.
How do you say her name?
Cynthia.
Erivo.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, I'm looking
So,
at
Michelle Yeoh's in it.
Oh, really?
And Jeff Goldblum. Obviously, we're just reading off of the IMDb cast list, so take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's like in my top 10 or 15, but now that well, Jeremy and I in our hiatus, we actually got to watch it on Broadway, which was pretty cool, and the performances were amazing. I'd probably go see it during the holidays season if it does hold to that holiday season 2024 release
Yeah.
date.
Hmm.
Right now it's
So
still
one that
Oh, go ahead.
I saw on this list is Den of Thieves 2.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause I don't know if you guys have seen the first Den of Thieves.
I have.
I love that movie. But yeah, I just found out they're coming out with a number 2, so I definitely am looking forward to that.
Yeah. Spoiler alert for Den of Thieves Part 1, but what's his not Russell Crowe? What's his name? Gerard Butler.
You're right. Yeah.
Kills Master Chief.
Gerard Butler.
Pablo Schreiber. So I don't know what I didn't expect that movie to get a
Neither
sequel.
did I.
It was that
thought it was
movie came
kind
out
of like a-
2012 or something.
Yeah, it came out a while ago. But I mean, we got what? Twisters. We
Yeah.
get Gladiator 2, Den of Thieves 2.
Yeah, I mean, also Gerard Butler usually makes these kind of like lower budget films.
Yeah,
Could be hit or miss. Like Greenland.
That was good.
that was good. I enjoyed it. I feel like Gerard Butler's movies they're obviously like they're never like great production quality, but I feel
pretty
like they're still
entertaining.
pretty fun to watch. Yeah, definitely.
What was that
Like
recent one that took place in the Philippines?
Oh,
I
know there was a-
Yeah, there was a plane.
Yeah, I think no, it was called Plane.
it's called.
was it?
Plane,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
yeah.
I don't even know. I think I just watched it on a whim. I just didn't.
That's the
know
one where
what
they
it was
crashed,
called.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It reminded me a little bit of Lost, but a
I think
TFC
there
movie.
was-
Yeah.
I think there was another Gerard Butler film that came out last year. Yes, it is Gerard Butler. Kandahar.
Kandahar. Was that good?
It was pretty good. I liked it. It was the action was good. Action was solid. I mean, it's Gerard Butler. I feel like, any of his action movies are like pretty good.
Mhm.
But I think it was a fun watch. I definitely recommend it.
Yeah,
I think it's on
weird.
Hulu.
Gerard Butler. I feel like he comes out with those movies that they're just kind of fun to watch, but you don't really
Yeah.
remember them for a long time.
Right. Except for like,
Then-
what's your most notable Gerard Butler movie? Probably 300.
Oh, I like not White House Down. Olympus Has Fallen.
Olympus Has
Yeah.
Fallen.
That was pretty
Olympus
good
Has
too.
Fallen. London Has Fallen. Angel Has Fallen. Which one?
The first one.
Second one was okay. It's just obviously not as good as the
Yeah.
first one. But I
Ooh,
was
another-
entertained.
Another good Gerard Butler movie, Hunter Killer. You haven't seen that
Oh,
one.
I haven't seen
not
that
seen
one
that
yet.
one.
That's a submarine one. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I've seen Last Seen Alive. That was on Netflix for a bit.
Really?
That was that was very much a Netflix level Gerard Butler movie. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess it's not Den of Thieves.
What do you guys think of? I think I mentioned this to Jeremy offline, only because he was surprised that I was thinking about this movie. But we have a movie that's coming up pretty soon. It's called where's Arthur the King?
Oh, Marky Mark.
Marky Mark and
Really?
Andy Dog.
And Bear Grylls is in it, apparently.
Yes.
Arthur the
For all
King.
those animals, lovers, I should say, animal lovers. I feel like that movie has a chance to make people cry. I'm already calling it right now.
Definitely.
I want to
looks
see
like
that movie eventually.
Yeah. Simu Liu's also in it. Natalie Emmanuel from Game of
Mhm.
Thrones and the Fast movies also in it.
Do you
Got
guys
pretty
have
good
a
class.
favorite Mark Wahlberg movie?
Ooh.
Ooh, that's a good question.
I
Or
might have to look up a
top
list.
2 or top 3 or something?
Oh.
Oh man.
And we can't say The Departed, Ken,
Okay.
because he was.
He
I'm
was just a side
putting that
character.
because he's pretty much just a side character.
Okay. Let me look at his IMDb.
Yeah, I'm looking too.
Because for me, I want to say it's gonna go, The Fighter.
Okay.
What's the Lone Survivor?
Okay.
Mm.
And I really like Patriots Day and Ted.
Oh,
It's
he's funny in Ted. Oh my god.
the first Ted, to be specific.
Yeah.
Have you guys watched the Ted TV show?
Not yet.
It's actually pretty funny. I watched all the episodes already.
Oh, really? How many episodes
Yeah.
are there?
It was like 8 or 10. All right, so
Okay.
top 3 in no particular order.
Yeah.
Italian Job.
Ooh, that one's
Oh,
good.
that's a good one. Okay, I might have to go like 5 of these. So Italian Job, Invincible,
Oh.
Shooter,
Oh, Shooter's a good one. Hey, dude.
Lone Survivor,
Okay.
and then I would say
No Basketball
Hmm.
Diaries.
Basketball Diaries.
Boogie Nights.
Oh, I
Nice.
don't think I've seen that.
Yeah, it's
Maybe the
memorable.
original Planet of the Apes.
Oh shoot, I forgot he was in that.
I did like what's it called? Where is it?
Which one?
Deepwater Horizon.
Oh, Deepwater Horizon.
Yeah, that one was pretty. I enjoyed that one.
Let's see.
Did you like Mile 22?
I expected it to be much better,
Yeah.
especially with the Maggie from The Walking Dead. I was like, oh, this is gonna be good.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
Nicky.
Went and watched the movie. I was like, oh,
I think
Ooh,
underrated,
you know what?
though, Instant Family.
underrated instant fan. Oh, that was pretty good. The one that came out on Apple TV.
No, that's Family Plan.
That's
Oh,
I'm looking at it right now. I was like,
Yeah.
what was that movie that just came out? That was entertaining.
that was entertaining. I haven't seen Instant Family.
It's probably better than Family Plan, which I haven't seen Family Plan, but Instant Family.
Daddy's Home 2. That is a great one.
I haven't seen
I
it yet.
I
I
love
know you
that
like
movie. It's like-
referencing it.
It's like my go-to Christmas movie.
Whoa. Oh, I forgot. He was in like 2 Transformers movies. No?
Yes, he
No
was.
Transformers?
Was he though?
He was in the first one. Second one? I don't know. I fell asleep on the second one.
Age
Oh,
of Extinction.
Pain and Gain.
Yeah, Pain and Gain.
Oh yeah, Pain and
Huge
Gain.
one.
Forgot about that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I'm
the
aware.
Fighter's also great.
This just became a podcast about Mark Wahlberg all of a sudden.
All of a
Ooh.
sudden.
Have you guys seen Fear? He was pretty good in Fear.
I did not see Fear.
Psychotic boyfriend.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Back in 1996 too. So he was just coming off of the Funky Bunch. But yeah,
Bring
yeah,
that stereotype.
yeah. To answer your question, Basketball Diaries is up there. Italian Job and The Other Guys.
Ah, the other
The other guy
guy.
is good.
Forgot about that.
Oh, and the fighter. Duh, I forgot about the fighter. He was really good as Mickey Ward.
Yeah,
That was a great movie.
man. I
He
just
Uncharted.
remember
has
him
so
being
many
so
good
surprised
movies.
about Will Ferrell's wife in the movie, played
Oh,
by Eva Mendes. Also, if you want to tie it all the way back to Ryan Gosling's real life wife, tie it back
Yep.
all the way to Ryan Gosling.
yeah.
It is
Yes.
Eva Mendez's birthday today.
Ooh.
Oh, there you go. Sean Tierra saying, I was expecting one of y'all to say Uncharted.
No, because I want to say Uncharted 2. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's going to be Uncharted 2. It's going to be like Dune, where Uncharted 1 was like the not good one.
Yeah.
2001 Planet of the Apes. I haven't seen it.
I
Who knows if
think I
that
see
was.
bits and pieces of it. And, hmm. But
I
yeah,
like
you
the
guys.
James Franco one.
Oh, yeah. Caesar.
Teaser. All right.
Caesar.
I think we exhausted the Mark Wahlbergness of this podcast, so I'll cut it there, guys. But Sean also said Daddy's Home 2 is the best.
It is amazing.
Let's leave off one last thing for our listeners and viewers. Jacob, is there anything that you want to kind of like recommend to the audience as we sign off for tonight?
Yeah, this is something that has or came out a while ago, but I just got around to watching it. I just finished Andor,
Oh,
and
still need to finish that. I
so
hear it's good.
It,
Yeah.
it's really good. How much have you watched?
Half of one episode.
Okay. Yeah, so like the first 3 episodes really like,
I
like
fell,
high
I,
pace.
I've fallen asleep 3 times to the first half of the first episode.
I can see that. But like then it starts to move on a little more, and I really enjoyed it. Especially, leading up to I hope they have a season 2 of it, but I'm not sure.
I think there's going to be a season 2. Well,
I think that's what I
Jan
heard too.
agrees with you. She says yes, Andor, which I need to see Andor then, because
do.
I remember the other day we were talking about it, and you said the tone is like set in that first episode.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give at least the first episode, because if
Yeah.
Ken fell asleep 3 times to the first episode, and then you love the first episode, it's like, oh, I guess we'll see where I fall in on that show.
Yeah.
Oh no, I expect to like it. I just need to be awake when I actually watch it.
Yeah.
So
That's like me and Moon Knight. I
Yes.
keep falling asleep during Moon Knight, but I know it's good. I know I'll like it if I just stay awake and watch it.
Well, to stay on the Star Wars thing, I think Star Wars, I want to say it's called Acolyte, is coming out in June. There's
Right.
another Star Wars
Oh,
show that's coming out. June is looking stacked for TV, by the way, because The Boys season 4,
The
The
Bear,
Bear
season
season
3.
3, and House of the Dragon season 2.
Yes.
All in June.
All in
Don't
June.
bug me. I'm not going out starting June, July, and August because I'm going to be watching TV.
Seriously.
Oh, man. Go ahead.
yeah.
Jeremy.
Jan was saying I was on the edge of my seat, and I honestly listened to the theme song a few times a week. So is the theme. Who does the theme song, Jake? Do you know? I know you listen
don't know.
sometimes.
Let me see.
It's not John Williams.
Oh, that would have been
The-
sick if he's composing for TV.
Yeah,
Oh.
or at
It's,
least Ludwig Göransson. You know.
I
Yeah.
believe Nicholas Britell. I'm not sure who that is.
I'm not sure who that is either. Now you know what, Jan J, I'm going to listen for the theme song when I eventually make it past that first half of episode 1.
Yes.
Yeah. How many episodes is Andor?
I think it's 12. Might be 10. I think it's 12.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. I actually enjoyed Diego Luna as an actor in Rogue One, so
Mhm.
I just need to just make it past the what do you call it, story building.
I think so. It's a good watch. I'd say it's worth it, especially with the quality of Disney Plus shows that have been coming out. You're just kind of like it's like hit or miss. I think this one's a hit.
Yeah. That's what I hear.
Ooh. How about you, Ken?
Oh,
Your one thing.
My one last thing is actually a two last things, only because, I mean, if you listen to part one, we were talking about Dune part two, which was directed by Denis Villeneuve. And I wanted to kind of do a kind of a double feature with Denis Villeneuve. I'm gonna go back to 2017. I watched Blade Runner 2049 without having to watch the first one. And so I was completely lost, fell asleep, and didn't appreciate 2049. So I took the initiative and watched Blade Runner 1982 for the very first time. Yeah, it kind of looked a little bit dated, but I was actually amazed by the visuals of how LA looked, supposedly in that world in 2019 of what they thought 2019 would look like. But once I actually understood everything that was going on in Blade Runner 1982, I then watched 2049 and was blown away at how good 2049 was. So 2049 is streaming now on Hulu. So that is my one last thing, my recommendation. Denis Villeneuve is so good. I think I'm gonna go on a kind of a binge with his stuff.
Yeah, I
can I
recommend
watch?
Prisoners.
Yes, that's actually gonna be my next
That's
one.
also Villeneuve.
Yes.
Yeah.
Probably one of
Okay.
my favorites of his.
Yeah, me too.
With Jake
me too.
Gyllenhaal
Yep.
yeah.
And
And Hugh
Wolverine.
Jackman.
and Hugh
Uh-huh.
Jackman. Yeah. So
And,
that's actually next on my list.
and
Terrence
Terrence Howard.
Howard.
Yeah. Next time, baby.
Baby, where's my daughter, baby? Where's baby?
But yeah, I'm gonna be on that binge watch for Denis Villeneuve.
Can I watch
Yeah.
2049 before watching
No,
the other one?
Damn.
you need.
Okay.
I think you need to watch the first one.
Okay.
Trust me.
That's exactly my question. I was like, can I skip the older one first?
The older one, although it's somehow a little bit clunky, it still actually holds in terms of like how it makes you think in terms of overall like how you think of humanity.
Okay.
Okay.
It gave me Westworld vibes.
Do you know where that's streaming? The first one?
It's not. I rented it.
Damn.
Oh.
Okay. Great. We have some homework.
But yeah, and Ryan Gosling, it all comes back to Just Ken. He was really good in this. Oh, and no, I don't want to spoil it. Never mind.
Yeah.
I was gonna spoil the very beginning of 2049, but I won't.
Don't do it. Okay. My recommendation for this week, because I was kind of like not well. No, I was kind of sick with the cold over this past weekend, and I wanted to start another show that I'll probably bring up next week when I talk about it. But since I was a little sick, I wanted to kind of calm myself with some comedy. I started watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine on Netflix because it's normally on Peacock. I think there's 8 seasons, and I've watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine before. In terms of like the first few seasons, so it's nice to kind of go back into that comedy realm. Unfortunately, only 4 seasons on Netflix. Just put all 8. And let me binge that.
Did you watch? Because I only know of that one Backstreet Boys interrogate scene. Have you gotten to that episode yet?
No, I have not gone to that episode yet. So, but the show lives up, I think, to
Yeah,
that clip.
Okay.
it does.
Now
It's
number
just
5.
like that the entire time. He's like,
That's the little singing you'll get from me today.
it's like it's number 1. It's like, oh, I forgot why we were here.
Number 5. Number 5 is the one.
Such a good clip and such a good show. I recommend it.
Yeah, Andy Sandberg seems like he's hella funny in that.
Also, he's the Scarlet Spider, I think, in
Yeah.
Across the Spider-Verse.
Mhm.
Sean said, Ken is not one of us. Blade Runner 2049. We all discovered our inner Officer K. our inner Ryan Gosling. The first one was so good. Okay.
Yeah. So
First Blade Runner.
it's on IMDb, but Ryan Gosling plays a character named K, literally the letter K.
Yeah. That's funny.
I know, because he's just Ken.
Yeah.
I made that connection too. I was like, oh shoot, he is just Ken.
It all ties back together.
Yeah, it all goes back to Barbie, really.
All right. Well, guys, thank you. And thank you to all the listeners and watchers out there for joining us on this live stream and the second half of this podcast, The Soup du Jour. I hope you had your fill. Jacob, thank you for joining us on Dune Part 2 and here on The Soup du Jour.
Listen, Al Gaib.
I'm glad that the last time we had a guest for the other Dune movie, he was like, Joash was pretty disappointed that I didn't like the movie. So he's like, oh, we'll watch it, or he'll be on the podcast again. And now I actually like the movie, and he's not here. So here you are, Jacob. Thank you for joining us.
Of course. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, we hope to have you soon. If there's any other movies that Twisters. Yeah, it's like right away. We gotta get you on Twisters. That's like your number one. So
yeah,
we'll see if it. And we'll rewatch Twister before that.
Right.
That'll be our homework between now and July or whenever that's coming out.
Yeah, July. They better not push that movie.
I swear, if they do,
I doubt they will.
I feel like they don't need to. So
yeah, it could take on Deadpool. No, I'm just kidding.
This is the year of Glenn Powell.
It really is.
The past 2 years.
That's true.
Yeah, seriously.
We're in the Glenn Powell era now.
Actually, 3 years if you're tossing in Maverick.
Yeah, let's keep this this Glenn Powell Twister rolling.
I like it.
All right, guys. Thank you. Good night to everyone out there. We'll see you next time. Well, we'll see you in 1 week, right, Ken?
That's kind of iffy for me. Maybe in 7 days. Okay, fine. 1 week.
Okay, sounds good. We'll see you in 1 week on The Real.